Happy weekend, Saints fans. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day so far. Hope you guys are being safe on St. Patty's and having a good day. Make sure you call an Uber and have a good time as always. But for today's video, we're going to be discussing the top free agents that the New Orleans Saints could sign. They have roughly about $15 million in cap space at the time of filming this video. Now, if anything happens, if one of these guys gets signed, I'll clarify and I'll make notes of it in the comment section of this video. So just putting that out there. We filmed it during the week. We wanted to give you guys some weekend content. There you go. That's that. Wanted to take care of that business. But if you guys want the Saints to win the NFC South again, get back in the playoffs, get back on top of the division, I need you to like the video. And if you need another reason, if you hate the Falcons, like this video. If you're not scared of Kirk Cousins, like this video. If you're not scared of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield, like the video. You see what I'm saying? Help us out, support the show, and support your football team. And before we dive into the free agents that I want the Saints to go and possibly sign, I want to tell you about Prize Picks. It's my favorite daily fantasy sports app. I've talked about it here a lot on the channel, but I've narrowed it down to these top 5 reasons why I love this daily fantasy sports app. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. Like, DFS is an awesome way to go win real money in real time, and it's the largest DFS app in North America. There ain't a bigger one. Size does matter in this situation because when it comes to PPs, they got daily specials and discounts. You can also get an $100 deposit match if you use our code and our link, prizepicks.com/CLNS. And they don't have just NBA and NFL picks. They also have NHL. They got esports. During the combine, they had more or less on 40-yard dash times. They also have NASCAR, golf, literally everything. So if you want to get started today, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Plug in that promo code CLNS for a first-time deposit match. All that information is in the comment section and description of this video because I love you. All right, so how we're going to make this work and how this is going to go is we're going to start with the offensive side of the ball. And then on the back half of the video, we're going to flip it over to the defense. So if you guys want specifically defensive players, maybe fast forward a little bit. But honestly, we got a lot of really interesting offensive players because, to be honest, that Saints offense last year, very lackluster. Let's start it off with Hunter Renfrow. There is clearly a familiarity there between him and Derek Carr. They have a history. They've been playing together over the last few seasons. Obviously, last year with Jimmy Garoppolo and Aiden O'Connell. Hunter Renfrow had a very, very down year. But the Derek Carr and Hunter Renfrow connection is very real. This is a guy whose nickname was Third and Renfrow. The production, you can see it on your screen. Back in 2021, over 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns. He averages over 10 yards per catch in most of his seasons, but in 2022 it was 9.2. Anyway, I think Hunter Renfrow makes a lot of sense for the Saints, and on top of that, I could also see them getting him for a relatively cheap contract. All right, let's talk about Mike Williams. He is a wide receiver who was recently released by the Los Angeles Chargers. They were looking to keep Khalil Mack. They ended up keeping Joey Bosa in order to keep that defense rocking and rolling for new defensive coordinator Jesse Minter out in L.A. Jim Harbaugh, he opted to not run it back with Mike Williams. This is a player who has had 1,000 yards in his career. He had 9 touchdowns back in 2021. That was the best season of his career. But one thing that really worries me is the lack of availability because, in my opinion, the best ability is availability. Let's look at another familiar face. Deontay Hardy. Y'all remember him? He was a lot of fun to have around in New Orleans. A kick and punt return specialist. He also got it done as a receiver for New Orleans in 2021 and in 2020. At one point in time, he was the wide receiver too because there were so many injuries that happened on that offensive side of the ball. Him and Marquez Callaway developed a really nice little chemistry, friendship, whatever you want to call it. But he was a fun player to have around in New Orleans. Personally, I wouldn't mind bringing him back because you need to fill out the wide receiver spots in that depth chart. I think a reunion with Hardy could make some sense. And on top of that, I think it would give the Pro Bowl selection in Rashid Shaheed the option to stick to mainly just being a receiver. I think that he does play really, really well as a kick and punt returner. But I want my number 2 wide receiver to stay healthy. So personally, I wouldn't mind a reunion with Deontay Hardy. Now, if you had to pick one of these wide receivers, just give me an HR for Hunter Renfrow, an MW for Mike Williams, or a DH for Deontay Hardy. I think either of these three options would make some sense. Personally, I think that Hunter Renfrow is the most likely. I think Mike Williams the least likely, and I think Deontay Hardy might be a really fun reunion. But I want you guys to share your thoughts in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Let's get down to the trenches, because that's where football games are won and lost, ladies and gentlemen. Tyron Smith is still available in NFL free agency. He's a veteran who's been around the league for a really, really long time. He had an overall PFF grade of 83.8 when he logged 847 snaps last year. He only allowed 1 sack. He only allowed 1 hit. He did allow 16 hurries, and he had 3 penalties. But at the end of the day, I would much rather roll with Tyron Smith than a Trevor Penning protecting Derek Carr's blindside. Another offensive tackle target, Trent Brown. Pretty talented player. Honestly, it's kind of surprising he hasn't been signed yet. He does have an overall PFF grade of 80.2. He only logged 579 snaps in 2023, but he had 3 sacks allowed, 6 hits, 8 hurries, 2 penalties. My big thing here is that the Saints need to have better protection. They need a better offensive line. And it's not just to protect Derek Carr, but it's also to create running lanes for Jamal Williams, Alvin Kamara, Kendre Miller. Like, these are all things that the Saints need to do in order to win more games and get back to the playoffs. I think Trent Brown could be an interesting target to look at and at least give a call and see what the price is for him. Now, I am going to ask you one thing to help me out real quick. I'm trying to get a puppy. I am wanting to get a puppy. I already have his name picked out. I already have his collar. I already have his leash. His name's going to be Gumbo. He's going to wear a Saints bandana every single day, and he's going to be my best friend, and he's going to be adorable. So if you want me to get a dog, help me out by supporting the show and subscribing, because the more subscribers we get, the more impressed my bosses are, the more likely it is that I can go get a puppy. And I'll tell you what, when I get my dog, he's going to be on the show all the time. Don't you worry about that. But help me out. Subscribe today. You also get Saints news, rumors, and updates every single day. Live shows multiple times a week. And I encourage you to lock us in. That way you can stay notified. And also, that way I can get a new little furry friend. So Chase Young, he is set to visit with the New Orleans Saints. He was actually supposed to visit on Friday, March 15th. But Nick Underhill reported that the meeting got rescheduled. So not really sure when that is yet. At the time of filming this, I haven't seen any information of when he's going to be meeting with the Saints, but he is still set to meet with New Orleans. He already left Carolina without a deal on Wednesday, and he is also set to meet with the Tennessee Titans. Chase Young, an interesting prospect. He was the 2020 Defensive Rookie of the Year, 7.5 sacks for the Commanders. But after getting traded at the deadline, there was talks about his effort issues. There was, the fact that he got benched in the playoffs by Shanahan. I don't know. His whole story has been the lack of availability, and that's something that does concern me. I don't want to keep paying high dollars, or I don't want to be paying a high premium for players who aren't on the field all that often. But speaking of the Tennessee Titans, Jadeveon Clowney is also set to meet with Tennessee, or is it the Carolina Panthers? He's set to meet with a handful of other teams around the league. Jadeveon Clowney, really talented guy. I mean, he's been around the league for a long time. And one of my favorite videos I've seen of him throughout his career was actually last year when he hit his sack number to earn a really nice bonus for him. He earned a couple extra million after he got a sack late in the season. He was running around, dancing around. Everyone in the stadium knew what was going on because everyone knew that was going to happen. But Jadeveon Clowney is a really talented guy. He's been getting it done for a long time. He's a journeyman. He's played for a handful of different teams across the league, and he can bring some really nice veteran presence and veteran experience alongside Cameron Jordan and Carl Granderson. Now, Calais Campbell, he's a defensive end. He is a big dude. He is old. He has been in the league for a long time. However, still getting it done. 6.5 sacks. Guess what, Saints fans? That would have been tied for second in the sack leaders for New Orleans last year. He also had 17 quarterback hits, meaning a lot of those hits could have been sacks had he gotten to the quarterback. 56 tackles, 10 tackles for loss last year. He is a durable guy. He plays a lot of football, and at the end of the day, I just want to see the Saints add an edge rusher, whether it's through the draft or through free agency, I think an edge rusher needs to be brought in. And I'm talking about edge rushers, but you also can make an argument that defensive tackle is a position of need for New Orleans. So let me know, how big of a need is defensive line? Just scale it for me 1 to 10. 1 meaning it's not that important at all. 10 meaning it is the number one thing that you want the Saints to add. So a really interesting option. This is going to be a expensive not blockbuster, but this might be a little bit of a pricier move. That's what I was trying to get to. Justin Simmons. You can see the numbers on your screen. He's a good player. He's well respected across the league. Tyrann Mathieu took to Twitter whenever Simmons was released and even said, "This is one of my favorite players in the league. I wish him nothing but the best. He's going to land on his feet." Hey, Honey Badger, get on the phone and bring this man in. I mean, look at the coverage stats for him. He allowed a 63.9 completion percentage, only 324 yards. He had gave up 3 touchdowns, but he also had 3 interceptions and 8 pass breakups. In the QB rating of an 85.9, I'll take that any day of the week. If you can bring in a nice safety alongside Tyrann Mathieu, I think that they could develop a really, really good chemistry together. Now, Xavier Howard is a cornerback who is also a veteran. That's kind of the common theme here. A lot of veteran guys that you could maybe get for their last contract, or, couple million, not short-term contracts and that kind of stuff. But Xavier Howard is a talented corner in this league. I think if the Saints aren't able to bring back Isaac Yiadom, this would be a nice option for him. He only gave up 502 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have 12 pass breakups, which is pretty impressive, and that quarterback rating as well isn't too shabby. And something that I find pretty interesting, I had to triple check this. The numbers in 2023 and in 2022, they're the exact same. Literally almost every single metric and in every single category, it was almost the exact same. So call him consistent, if you will. But also in 2021, 16 pass breakups, 5 interceptions. And in 2020, 20 pass breakups and 10 interceptions. Xavier Howard is a talented quarterback. I wouldn't mind bringing him in to bring a little bit of extra swagger, a little extra pop for the New Orleans Saints defense, because at the end of the day, Marshon Lattimore has had some injury issues. He's still a great player, but he's got to stay on the field. Now, I really do appreciate every one of you who has hung out with us, and if you made it to the end of today's video, just give me a real one down in the chat, because it's a real one. Roll call. So give me a real one in the comment section if you bleed black and gold and you're about that action. Saints fans, y'all stay golden. We'll see you next time.